Hi, this is Mark Pesce, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you at the Sydney Film Festival. Hyperdistribution is the brand new way to be able to get any sort of media out to a lot of people very quickly. And it is by far the most efficient way to get something out across the internet, because it allows one person with one slow computer and one slow internet link to get a large amount of media to absolutely everyone, absolutely everywhere on the internet. What BitTorrent does is it takes a big media file, whether it's a movie or a TV show or a big audio file, whatever it might be, and breaks up into lots of different pieces. The people who are sharing this information or trying to get this information from someone who has it, every one of them grabs a couple of different pieces. It's as if I had a book or a film, let's say a film, and the film was 1,000 frames long, and I broke it up into 1,000 separate frames, and I handed one frame to 1,000 people. But then I told the 1,000 people about each other, and then I let them pick up the frames from each other rather than having them all get the frames from me. So what happens is the more people who are trying to get the frames to this film, the easier it is for every successive person to get a frame of this film. The established distributors are in a bit of a hard spot right now, because the one thing that hyperdistribution has done is that it's completely leveled the playing field with regard to the distribution of media. Every single individual on the internet now has an equivalent capacity to distribute something as widely as possible. We are now seeing the professional class of media producers being confronted by a tsunami of an amateur class of producers. Now, truthfully, most of this amateur class of producers won't make work that's that interesting for the broad market. A percentage of them will. However, amateurs will produce things that are going to be interesting to a few hundred to a few thousand people, what I call micro audiences. And there's not going to be 1 or 2 or 3 micro audiences. There's going to be 5 or 10 or 20,000 micro audiences. So what we're going to see is that this change in distribution is going to force everyone to deal with the fact that the audiences become intensely fragmented, and that amateur producers are rising up to meet the needs of those amateur audiences. Right now, what's more important for both the filmmaker and the producer is that that film be seen by as many people as possible, that in fact these people build their reputations up. Business models are at the forefront of everyone's mind who are trying to make industries happen in terms of this era of hyperdistribution. My basic feeling is that it is far, far too early for us to start to even consider what business models are. Everything has changed so rapidly, and everything has changed so completely. Now that I could basically have as much power of distribution as Warner Brothers does in terms of being able to reach people in their homes around the world, it's foolishness for us to say, well, what's the business model? Because we haven't really even discovered what this technology is really good for yet. Until we have some time with it, until there's a lovely quote from William Gibson, which is, "The street finds its own use for things, uses its makers never intended." Until we spend some time out on the street with this technology, and that's not something that takes weeks or months, it's something that takes years. There's no question that what's going on right now is heavy evolution in action. We've had, I don't know, say 60 years of a sort of classic film distribution model. We've had about 50 years of a classic television distribution model, and both of those models have essentially vaporized. We saw what happened to the recording industry back around the turn of this century, where so much trading was going on that it started to affect the structure of the industry itself. Then we saw the rise of things like iTunes, which proved that consumers would actually pay for tracks they wanted to listen to, but none of that actually had any effect on the amount of file sharing that was going on. It's just happening in addition to it. We may in fact see the rise of commercial downloading services. We do see commercial downloading services for film and for TV shows. iTunes is making up a big part of this, but it's taking place in a much more vibrant ecology of all sorts of people trading all sorts of media, some of which they've made, some of which they've borrowed, some of which they've outright stolen. And that trading isn't slowing down. That trading is only accelerating, and that trading is happening outside of any established economic frameworks.